Hello all, welcome back to another video. In this video, we will walk through how we can set up Mythic C2 on a Kali machine and the basic usage of it, establishing a callback reverse shell connection back to Mythic C2. As shown in the screen, this is the Mythic C2 official documentation page. It contains step-by-step instructions on how we can set this up. It is highly recommended to give it a read before getting started on it. All of the services that Mythic C2 uses run on Docker, and we will need to have Docker installed on our Kali machine. There is an official Docker installation script provided by the Mythic C2 repository that we can use for Kali machine. Let's run the script and get Docker installed. Nice. Once this is done, we will need to compile the project to produce the Mythic CLI binary. We can run the command make in the folder as shown over here. With Mythic CLI compiled, we can now run it to install all the Docker containers required for Mythic C2 to function. Let's run Mythic CLI with the start command. We can see that it is now pulling and setting up all the Docker containers. Great. It is important to understand that setting up Mythic C2 like this only sets up the backend services and also the web interface. The actual agent that the C2 uses and the C2 profile itself have to be installed separately as individual Docker containers. Think of the agent as the payload that you will be executing on your victim Windows machine. Think of C2 profiles as how the agent will be communicating to the C2, such as via TCP, HTTP, or even other platforms like Discord and GitHub. This will be much clearer once we get to it later in the video. Once Mythic CLI start is completed, we should be able to see all the containers in the running state. Great. Now let's access the Mythic C2 web interface on our Kali IP address and port 7443. The credentials to log in will be stored in the .environment file that is created during the setup over here. This is the Mythic C2 interface, and by default, an operation named Chimera will be created for you. You can create a new operation and name it however you want, but let's stick with the default for now. You can also create new users or operators that will be allowed to log in into the Mythic C2 web interface. These are the features available, and the Active Callbacks tab over here will show the victim's machines that are compromised to call back to our Mythic C2. Right now, the Payload and C2 tab is empty. Let's install an agent and the C2 profile as discussed earlier. Let's hop over to the official Mythic agent repository. There are a few agents readily for us to select. We will be using Apollo, which targets Windows machines only. We can install the agent via the Mythic CLI binary as shown over here. We will also need a C2 profile to dictate how our agent will be communicating back to us. Again, the official C2 repository contains a few that we can choose. We will stick with the HTTP-based C2 communication. We can see that there are others as well, such as Discord, WebSocket, and GitHub. Let's install the HTTP C2 profile now. Once that is done, if we were to hop over back to our Mythic C2 web interface, we can see that the initially empty tab is now populated with the agent and C2 profile that we have downloaded. Nice. Let's configure the HTTP C2 profile. By default, it doesn't use SSL as shown over here. Let's change that to true and also change the default port number from 80 to 443. The HTTP C2 profile should now use SSL and port 443 now. Let's head over to the Payload tab to create a payload based off the Apollo agent that we have downloaded. We have the option of selecting an exe binary, shellcode, or a service binary. Let's stick with the exe binary option. Now we will need to select commands over here. This allows you to configure what commands you will be able to execute later on your victim's machine. We can stick with the default for now. If needed, we can always load the necessary commands later on during post-exploitation. We can select and include the HTTP C2 profile over here and configure the necessary fields. Let's change the callback port to 443 and the host to our IP address. We can also change the callback interval for the demonstration to have a faster output from the agent. Alright, this should do it. Let's build the payload. Nice. If we were to click on the payload tab again, we can see that the generated payload that we have just created is shown. Let's copy the download link and hop over to our Windows machine. Oh dear, Windows Defender is picking it up. Let's add an exclusion for now so that we can continue to showcase the usage of Mythic C2. I will be showing a Windows Defender bypass later on with some hints provided on how you can do the same. With the Windows Defender exclusion configured, we can now execute the Apollo exe binary without an issue. Hopping over back to our Mythic C2 web interface, we can see that under the Active Callback tab, it is no longer empty. We have successfully established a callback from our victim's Windows machine. Now we will be able to remotely interact with our target Windows victim. These are the commands that are supported, which was configured during the payload generation process earlier on. If we were to right-click on the connected Windows victim, we can see features such as a file browser. The file browser is not functional because it requires the ls command. Initially during the payload creation, we didn't select it. We can load it now with the load command. Once that is loaded, the file browser functionality should work. Awesome. Let's try out the shell command to execute ipconfig. Nice. Let's exit the agent and showcase a Windows Defender bypass. After we exit the agent, we can see that the last check-in timer is no longer updating. Our agent has exited on the victim's Windows machine. Now let's clean up our Windows machine and remove the Windows Defender exclusion. If we were to download the agent payload again, Windows Defender is detecting and deleting it. Great. A quick note over here. The Windows Defender bypass that I'm about to show is using a publicly available tool, which I do not feel like disclosing at the moment. Hence, I have renamed the files. Usually, when a video is published on a specific tool, it will quickly be signatured and detected by Windows Defender. I will be sharing it on a later date, but not for now. Don't worry, I will provide some hints on the technique by showing some references on it later on in the video. Now let's download the Apollo exe binary over on our Kali machine. Now we will be utilizing the publicly available tool to create an undetected launcher that will wrap around and execute our Apollo exe binary. Awesome. Let's transfer the binary over. No Windows Defender detection so far. It is looking good. Now let's execute it. Nice. We have successfully established a callback to our Mythic C2 and bypassed Windows Defender successfully. Alright guys, I hope you have found this video to be useful in setting up the Mythic C2 application and on the basic usage. As promised, this is one of the reference for the Windows Defender bypass technique by NTT Data. This is another reference for the Windows Defender bypass technique as well. All of the references shown and used will be provided in the video's description, so be sure to check them out. With these two references shown, it should be quite obvious what is the technique and the tool used for the Windows Defender bypass. Fingers crossed that you can achieve the same. If you are interested in learning about hacking a Windows Active Directory domain network environment, here is a playlist available on my YouTube channel where it contains 4 episodes showcasing the attack techniques, tactics, and procedures commonly used by an attacker in a Windows domain network Active Directory. It has hands-on technical demonstration of attacks such as crack map exec, bloodhound, how to perform network pivoting, and many others. On my Udemy page, I have a free introductory course that explains the core concept of phishing as well. This course is 100% completely free and it showcases the common approaches and tools to phishing and what attackers aim to achieve in phishing attacks, such as harvesting credentials or convincing a victim to click on a malicious payload. The link to the resources will be provided in the video's description, so be sure to check them out. Here is a quick shout out to everyone who have donated to my channel so far. Thank you, and I really appreciate it a lot. Alright, this is it to the video. Please help to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It will really help out the channel a lot. Thanks all, I appreciate it, and I will see you all soon in the next one. Bye.